Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today we are going to go over the 5 biggest myths of car audio. We're gonna go through them one by one and we're gonna absolutely bust them all. Make sure to stay tuned to the very end as you don't wanna miss a thing. Let's get loud, people. All right, guys, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe down below, turn on those notifications so you don't miss any future content to help you take it to the next level. Let's get loud. All right, so starting off with myth number 5. It is better to play it safe and underpower than overpower your speakers. Not true. This is absolutely not the case. The best advice is to properly power your speakers for the best overall performance and longevity of your system. However, if you are forced to either underpower or overpower your subwoofers, then I would choose overpowering them 9 times out of 10. One word: headroom. Here is the thing. When you underpower your speakers, you are trying to force them to perform when you turn up the volume, but you're not giving them the proper power to do so. This will cause them to sound distorted and they will be straining to keep up. Okay? Your amplifier will also likely be getting too hot, probably going into thermal protection because the demanding load it cannot support. On the flip side, having headroom is just that. Using a more powerful amplifier than needed gives it breathing room to effortlessly deliver the power to your speakers that they need. The only thing to be aware of is to make sure you set your gains properly so that you are not sending a clipped signal to your speakers, which in turn will distort your speakers, creating heat and overall speaker failure. Believe it or not, it's actually easier to clip your amp when you underpower because people try to compensate their lack of power by turning up their gain knob. Then this happens. Turn up the bass. Don't be that guy. This brings us to our next myth. Myth number 4, if you want your system louder, just turn up the gain. Please don't do that. Your gain knob is not your volume knob. Got it? If it was, then it would be labeled volume. Your gain setting determines how much it is going to amplify the signal that is coming in from the amplifier. Most amplifiers have the gain adjustment knob labeled, so you can do a general gain match if you know your preamp output voltage of your head unit or preamp device. For example, if your head unit has 5-volt preamp outputs and the gain adjustment on your amp goes from 10 volts to the left to 0.2 volts to the right, then your gain setting should dial in about halfway up, right around 5 volts to match the input signal of your source unit. From there, you can adjust slightly as needed to stay out of distortion. If after doing that, you crank up your head unit volume and you still want it louder, don't make the mistake of turning up your gain as a volume knob, okay? If you still need or want it louder, I'm sorry to tell you this, it's gonna cost you more money. But time for a bigger amp and more speakers, okay? That's how you get loud the right way. Don't forget, as you grow your system, right? Don't neglect your electrical, big 3, batteries, alternators, etc. Do it right and don't take any shortcuts, all right? That brings us to number 3. So myth number 3, it's okay to mix different battery types together. Not exactly, okay? The answer to that is yes, no, and hell no, okay? They're different answers, but they all apply. As with anything, there's a right way to do things, an acceptable way to do things, and a flat out wrong way to do things, okay? Here's the basic rule of thumb. If you follow it, you'll never get yourself into any issues, okay? Run like batteries with like batteries. AGM with AGM, LTO lithium with LTO lithium, etc. If you're gonna run different batteries together, such as AGM and lithium, or lithium and lead acid, okay? Keep them isolated. Yes, you can use an isolator, but better yet, isolate them completely, okay, by running separate electrical systems. A dual alternator setup is needed for this. However, in my setup, I have a stock alternator running my truck electrical and under hood AGM, while my Mechman 370 is dedicated to charge my lithium that runs my car audio, okay? The only thing they share is a common ground. I have a video on my YouTube channel showing this setup in depth. Go ahead and check it out after this video. I'll go ahead and put a link right up here. But you know, that's the best way to do things. That way, you know, you have your truck's electrical system running separately, and it's dedicated to run your truck and your battery. And then you have your additional alternator that is running your car stereo, and that's dedicated to that, so they don't rob each other of performance, and you can get the best result, okay? All right, and myth number 2, you don't need a custom spec enclosure. This prefab will work just fine. False. As mentioned previously, there is a right, acceptable, and wrong way to do things. This is acceptable at best. Can you run your subs in a prefab enclosure? Sure. Will it perform its best? Absolutely not. There are too many factors in play here that your sub needs to perform its best. The big ones being recommended airspace, port tuning frequency, and port area. Chances are you will not find a prefab enclosure that matches even one of those recommendations spot on. It's a far shot, let alone 2 or 3. I'm a big believer that a crappy sub and a properly designed enclosure will sound better than a good sub in an out-of-spec prefab enclosure. Instead of blowing your money, save up till you can afford to get a good sub and a good custom enclosure. Now you're ready to get loud, okay? Getting loud brings us to the final and biggest myth I hear all the time. Are you ready? Well, here it is. Myth number 1. That loud bass is going to make you go deaf, boy. Not true. If you have ever had a loud system in your ride and have blasted your bass in a public place, you've undoubtedly received this comment, maybe from a stranger or heck, even a friend or family member, okay? Based off 20 plus years of experience of daily listening to 150 plus dB builds and being involved in the car audio scene, receiving numerous demos of 165 plus dB monsters, I have yet to meet anybody that has lost or degraded their hearing due to high SPL bass, myself included. What more do you need to know? What a lot of people don't realize is, you know, you have a lot higher probability of losing your hearing from the mid and high range frequencies than anything in the 25 to 40 hertz range, which is the sweet spot for bass fanatics, right? All those warning charts you see floating around like these give incomplete information. I like how it says right here, anything above 140 hertz is instant hearing loss. If that is true, then myself and all my car audio buddies would be deaf, as we all have 150 plus dB systems. So what's the deal? Those ratings are not sub-bass frequencies. They are for mid-range spectrum. For those who don't know, the human ear has a higher sensitivity to mid-range frequencies than the ones on the lower and higher end of the spectrum, okay? Vehicle doors that are filled with mid-ranges and tweets, right, fully customed out, those have a higher potential to cause hearing loss over time, okay? So be careful with your mids and highs. But for my SPL bass heads out there, keep it pounding. Well guys, thanks for joining me today. If you have not done so already, please make sure to like this video and subscribe below. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss any future content that can help you take it to the next level. Let's go out there and get loud and have a great time doing it.